Ladies and gentlemen, this is Dustin Perry from Ghost Hunters and Ghost Hunters International, and you are tuned into the Paranormally Zone.
Look, I know the supernatural is something that isn't supposed to happen. It does happen.
A ghostly apparition in the dark of night.
Human sacrifice, dogs and cats living together, mass hysteria.
Hey there, ponderers of the paranormal. This is the Paranormally Zone, your place for all things paranormal, strange, and mysterious. My name is Patrick Koffenberg, and I am joined, as always, by my co-host with the ghosts, the paranormal poster boy himself, the king of sting, the master of disaster, the count of Monte Fisto, Mr. Michael.
Monte Fisto?
The Count of Monte Fisto, the one and only Michael Carbno. How are you, sir? Did you recognize that? Did you recognize that litany of phrases, terminology that
litany, yeah. And all I can come up with you is the master of Bation.
Oh, that was wonderfully clever. So clever. Was he wonderfully clever there, Igor? No, I don't think so either. So
no.
Well,
no.
It's good.
Oh, no.
It's good to see you, Mike.
Oh, no.
We're back for the main podcast after a weekly. We kind of went off astray a little bit in our new ventures into true crime last week. We had an absolute blast doing that, and it seems kind of odd describing such horrifying and disturbing topics. It's kind of odd describing them when we're talking about them as fun and having a blast and so fascinated. You know, I think our listeners understand what I mean by that. But hey, if you guys haven't listened to it, go check out our
it's
dive into true crime with focusing on Ed Gein, the Plainfield Butcher, the House of Horrors. Yeah, that was pretty disturbing to say the least. I still feel dirty, but
it was advertised as a true crime, but it's just another Sick and Twisted.
Yeah, sure. Well, yeah, I get it. Yeah, I get.
But actually, you know, when we get into the more into the episodes of true crime, we'll have a more diverse and plethora of true crime subjects.
Oh, yeah, 100%. I agree with that, 100%. And we'll just continue to get better and better. You know, that was our first.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, we've been saying that for 9 years now. I know.
Think. Our 8 listeners are getting sick of it.
I promise it'll get better.
I promise. Yes, I'm feeling better. I'm not quite dead yet. But yeah. Anyhow. It is good to see you. Good to see you. But no, that litany of phrases, descriptive phrases I threw towards you, that is from none other than Rocky Part 4. So
really?
Yeah, that was Apollo Creed when he was coming out of retirement to fight Ivan Drago. And
I didn't see that one.
He was so excited and he was so hyped. He was hyping everything up. It was during the peak of the Russian-American Cold War and all that stuff. And Apollo Creed just had 1,000 different ways he wanted to be described and introduced as, and so that's what that came from.
Adrian.
That was a terrible Sylvester Stallone. Terrible.
I'm not a Rocky fan.
Oh, not even the first one?
I watched it and I enjoyed it, but
I watched it and I enjoyed it, but I'm not a fan.
Yeah, the extreme sagging on the one side of his mouth just always bothered me.
Oh, so you need to rephrase that. You're not a Sylvester Stallone fan.
Oh no, he's great. He's a great actor. He's
But
Yeah, I like Sylvester Stallone.
okay, you're just saying that because you're afraid he's listening right now and he's going to hunt you down.
Yeah.
Because you know damn well Sylvester Stallone is listening to small little paranormal
Yep,
podcasts out there.
Absolutely.
Okay, I get you. No, I was. You have to understand that Rocky Part 4 came out when I was 10, and
Yeah.
I was just mesmerized by that movie. And it's 90 minutes, and about 86 of them are either fighting or training montages.
Yeah, sure.
That's the remaining 4 minutes, 3 minutes is the plot. But hey,
Yeah.
it didn't matter. I loved it.
Is it the first one where he was punching a side of beef?
It was, yes. When
Yeah,
he
I
was
think
in
how
the-
he smelled at the end of the day after that.
well, I guess I've never really thought
To
about it.
wipe off those whatever.
The
That's
bandages,
nasty.
yeah, the bandages.
Yeah,
He was just
exactly.
covered in dead pig blood or whatever the hell it was that he
Yeah.
was pounding on, or
Yeah, a lot of sinew and
yeah,
what do they call it? Tallow. A lot
Oh.
of beef tallow
Oh, yeah, that's right. I said pigs. Yeah, they
flying
were,
all over the place.
They were dead.
Like beef
cattle.
tallow. After you eat a Big Mac and that tallow that is just dripping off of a Big Mac, it's stuck in your throat and you got to keep, it's bad. It cancer, something. I don't know. Anyway.
I just ate, and now you're making me like
Yeah.
wish I didn't.
Tallow.
So I don't like that word. Just I don't know why. It just
It's just unrendered fat.
well, it's still unrendered fat. That sounds like the worst band name ever. You know, we're unrendered fat, and we're gonna be here all week. Yeah,
Hello, Cleveland.
right. So,
There's something. I don't know.
good golly, Miss Molly. But hey, man, we're here. We need to talk paranormal and weird, odd, strange, mysterious
Yeah.
stuff. This
Enough
one is
of Rocky Balboa and beef tallow.
yeah, please. This definitely falls okay.
Moist.
During
beef
shut up,
tallow.
shut
Okay.
up.
Okay.
This, when I describe the show at the beginning of each episode, I say, we focus on all things paranormal, strange, and mysterious. Where would you list this one, Mike? Would this fall under paranormal, strange, or mysterious for you? If you had to choose one, which one would this fall into?
Oh, well, they all fit, but one must fit better than the others.
Yeah. What do you,
Two of these things do not belong.
what say you? What say
Well,
you?
it's kind of hard. Mysterious, maybe. Paranormal. It's kind of hard putting paranormal on because this could just be a guy with just a real odd, quirky
Well,
thing.
yeah.
But then again, after a while, when it starts getting into the exorcism part,
Yeah, the demonic parts.
yeah,
It's odd for me too, man. I guess since you refused to answer, I'm going to label it under paranormal just because of the exorcism.
right. I would have
portion.
to agree with that, actually.
Okay, sounds
Yeah.
good. Well, in case you haven't figured it out by the title of the show, and when you clicked on this podcast because you wanted to listen to it, hopefully, yeah, we're talking about the strange, bizarre case of Bill Ramsey. Definitely best known as the Southend WEREWOLF.
Yes.
First off, what a reputation, huh?
Well, absolutely.
Have
But
you-
he's
have you
well
guys
deserved.
Have you seen Bill lately? It's Bill the werewolf.
He's out in the backyard bearing a bone.
I know. It's like, my gosh, if this was a hoax, I mean, this guy is just absolutely, his life is ruined basically. But I don't know. Maybe it isn't.
He's in the closet chewing on what's left of that chicken.
Probably. Yeah. Hope he's not hacking on the bone. Well, he got it up. No, thanks, cousin Eddie. One thing I do want to throw out there right away, and I'm not suggesting anything.
Let's hear it.
Even though I kind of might be, maybe, I guess, that during this story, we'll get to this too. Mr. Bill Ramsey was paid $20,000 for his story from a British tabloid. Now, is that just the British tabloids trying to jump on top of a legit occurrence and they're just trying to sensationalize it as much as they can to get their money's worth? Or is it maybe perhaps vice versa? I really do not know.
I would like to know when he was offered this for the for the story. How
Right.
far into it, how
Sure.
long after the original event happened, if the original event actually even happened. It smacks of Weekly World News.
Yeah, it kind of does. It kind of does. But this is a fascinating topic, and we're not dismissing it offhand immediately.
Absolutely.
We are
Yeah,
not
we're
doing
just
that.
looking at all angles.
We're looking at it from all angles. Well, let's just dive right into it, Mike. Okay,
I'm ready.
Well, first and foremost, for those of you who may not know, and if you're listening to this podcast and interested in topics like this, you probably do know. There is a term out there. There is a descriptive term of a mental illness called lycanthropy. Now,
Right.
this is essentially it's described as a mental illness where people essentially believe that they are animals. More prominently, they believe that they
Right.
are werewolves. They act
Right.
like
Well,
such.
the word lichen is
Right.
really
Yeah,
the word lichen really likens to the
there you go.
idea of werewolfism.
It's from the Greek term lycos, wolf, and anthropos, man, mental disorder in which the patient believes that he is a wolf or some other non-human animal. Yeah.
Mhm.
Now, is this
Well, he sure
simply-
played the part well.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Now, is this simply a case where lycanthropy can be labeled as the cause? Well, we don't know. Let's talk about it.
Yeah.
The story of Bill Ramsey. This man was born in 1943, Essex, London. We're just going to skip right to where all the crazy stuff happens.
Well, like a little short intro to him. I mean,
Yeah.
he explains that this happened to him, or the first time he felt anything that had to do with this, so he was 9 years old.
Yeah.
So it goes way back in his life where he's playing outside, and he said he started to feel strange, and then he said that he felt this frigid, cold blast come over him,
Icy
And
wind.
this-
Yeah.
icy, and this extremely bad, foul stench.
Yes. And
So
that
when he's
stench,
9 years old, and this, yeah,
that stench
Well,
like
yeah,
made
there
him,
you go.
that stench like made him like nauseated, he said.
right, felt like he was going to vomit. But what's weird is that while this was going on, he said that there were two things on his mind when this was happening, and this doesn't make any sense to me. Well, the first one, he had in his mind of running away to a life on the ocean wave.
And
I don't know what that means.
he
And
wanted to run
wolves.
away. He had visions of wolves, and he envisioned
Right.
himself running to the ocean on all fours. That's what
Oh,
this
okay.
vision
Well,
he
you and I
had.
must have researched two different stories.
Well, that's fine. We tackle it from all different angles.
Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, strange, very strange.
He described the sensation that he felt when he was 9 years old on the backyard. He's playing in the garden, and he was just having kind of normal flights of fancy of a little kid that they usually have. But when these sensations came over him, he also, even though it was this icy cold wind, he began sweating profusely.
Right.
And it ended up actually, now this is according to the story, that the sweat froze
On him. Yeah.
And he described that as he likened it, here's that term again, likened it to like being outside on a hot summer day and then walking into a cold meat locker. That's how he described it. Like just that glistening sweat just freezing immediately on you, basically.
So the only question I have from that then is when he went and felt like going into that meat locker, would Rocky Balboa have been in there eating on a slab of meat?
That's a great question. Chris Walken, would Sylvester Stallone have been in that meat locker?
I don't know.
Oh.
Yeah. Well, if he doesn't know, then nobody's going to know.
Nobody's going to know. When you first said there's only two thoughts on his mind, for some reason I thought of Alpo and pedigree. So I don't know if that was, maybe he was thinking about that as well. But I guess we're not certain. But yeah, with these visions of these wolves, and he also described having these feelings of rage, and hatred.
Yep. Extreme rage came over him.
A rush of adrenaline, so much so that he had, like, essentially, this is as a 9-year-old kid, and I listened to his interview with him earlier today. And by the way, Bill Ramsey, the interview that I watched him with, two interviews I watched of Mr. Bill Ramsey. He comes across as a very sincere person. Okay, I'm going to put that out there right now. Is he just a really good? Is he just a
video.
really good actor? I don't know, or if he's. To me, he came across as sincere. I mean, take that for what it's worth.
But did you notice though that when you look at his face, just normal, he doesn't look right.
Well,
I mean, it's just the shape. It's just the shape and the features. It's not like
very much so.
No, he doesn't. Not like he's grotesque or anything. But
no.
But you can see where the teeth. If he just opens his mouth up, and his teeth look like he's like doing a snarl without even trying.
That's a great point, Mike, because he has very prominent teeth, particularly his upper teeth,
right.
And you can see, as we go along with the story, a lot of people describe him when he's in these fits, how they say his lips curled back and his teeth became, very prominent. And, maybe it's people overreacting to this man who's really acting crazy and they're just focusing on his already prominent.
Right. You put that together, the way he already looks with him adding to it by snarling and furrowing his eyebrows or whatever and putting his hands up like claws. I mean,
yes, he did that often where like Mike, you can't see him obviously, listeners, but Mike held up his hands like you're doing kind of like the well, you saw how
like a velociraptor,
like a little velociraptor with a tiny or T-Rex with its tiny little arms, it's like I don't know, it doesn't hiss like a wimpy little snake like I just did, but
but you go ahead and continue on with the story when he was a 9-year-old boy and his rage and his adrenaline and strength that he showed. He
came across, essentially when he was going through this fit and his parents, had noticed him going through this and they come out to try and,
They stayed, and then they went back in the house and stayed there because they didn't know what else to do.
After witnessing their 9-year-old son, 9 years old, pull out 2 to 3 inch square thick posts, fence posts that were cemented in to the ground
with the fence still attached.
And
this
kid, this is 9
and
years old.
swinging it around.
9 years old, he starts swinging it around like a mad dog, whatever you want to call him, and smashes it onto the ground until it falls apart and breaks. And like you said, Mike, his parents are like going, no, that's not cool. So this is not normal. He also
and then go ahead.
No,
Sorry.
you go ahead, Mike. Go ahead. I don't want to talk over you, man. Go ahead.
I was just going to say that after that, and then he takes the mesh of the fence and starts chewing on it
until he starts bleeding from the mouth.
Yeah.
Something's happening there. Now, is this just a once in a lifetime bizarre psychotic episode? Perhaps. But
it is at that time.
It is at that time. This wasn't the only time. Now, what's intriguing is that this didn't happen again for 15 years?
Another 15 years later, it took for him to have another episode like this.
And then,
during that 15 years is where he'd gotten married and he'd had some children and lived a fairly normal, happy life.
Worked as a carpenter, well liked in the neighborhood. Now, after he got married, he started having nightmares again. And these nightmares included more animalistic visions that were appearing that would terrify him. And he would start waking up in his room after these nightmares, and he would swear that he heard the sounds of panting animals in his room before realizing that it was he himself who was making these noises.
Right. And these nightmares that he would have, they were always the same of him chasing his wife. And he would always be not too far behind her, and she would turn around in terror as she's running, and then she'd, keep running again. And so, very bizarre.
Yeah, it doesn't
seem
like
his life up to this point, I mean, whatever events are happening, why it takes so long between at this point, it is strange, but like what happened when he was 9 years old, and then now it's changed into just having nightmares until
this is when
gets into his next steps of this whole issue.
Like we say, 15 years between the first and second event. The second event took place when he was at a pub with some pals,
Right.
hanging out, just doing pub things. And when he was sitting on his bar stool, and he claims that he started feeling the same sensation that he felt when he was 9 years old. He started feeling like he was being surrounded by this icy coldness, and he started feeling very, like nauseous again. And he decided to run to the bathroom because he wanted to get away, and then he wanted to try and regroup. And this is when he said that upon looking in the mirror at his reflection, Bill claims that his reflection
Right.
was that of a wolf looking back at him.
Yeah, a werewolf, yeah.
Now, okay, let's stop and pause for a second. If this is legit, holy crap. What? Okay, Mike, what the hell would you do? Would you just go back out into the bar and try and have down a couple more pale ales?
Well, I would go back, but I would comb my face, make sure that I
slam a couple Guinnesses. I don't know.
But what's strange though is he sees a werewolf in the mirror, but then when he does go back out, he obviously doesn't actually look like a werewolf because otherwise his friends would be like,
hey, dude, you look like a werewolf.
Yeah, go shave your face.
It sounds crazy. It sounds bizarre, but who's to say? We certainly aren't. And this occasion was, as I said, took place 15 years after the original.
Yeah, it keeps going.
It keeps going. Yeah, it keeps going. I believe it was like another 18 months after this particular event. So a year and a half later, Bill said that he started feeling chest pains, and he started feeling again.
No, well, what about the drive home?
Well,
after the pub.
I'm looking at my notes. Take it over, Mike. I must have missed that one.
Oh man, yeah. When they left the pub, I mean, there was a carload of guys. I mean, he was sitting in the back seat as a passenger.
Oh, that's right. Yep. I just had to look further down in my notes. Go ahead.
Okay. It was a passenger. He started getting that. Well, without any warning, he began to growl, and he lifted his hands up like I was showing earlier and twisted into claws. And then he tried to bite the leg of his friend that was sitting next to him. Yeah.
Now this is the first part of the first of many occurrences where he starts actually physically trying to attack people and biting them.
And then the driver stopped, pulled over, and they were trying to get him out of the car, and they couldn't. It was like they were just fighting him, and it took all of them to actually get him out. And then by the time he got out, he had calmed down and things were fine. But that's when, after 18 months of relative quiet.
Okay. That's when we get to the part where he starts complaining of chest pains. And by the way, I don't want to hang out. I don't want to hang out with anybody who wants to bite me, ever. So,
well, it depends on how hard.
I guess
it's done.
There's friendly nibbles, I guess.
If it's like a nibble, like an old lady with no teeth, and that's not so bad.
That's a horrible comparison. I don't
know what that feels like. Thank God, but
okay, yeah. I'm gonna have nightmares about that now.
Some extremely old lady with like leathery skin, and smiling and laughing and like clapping her gums together, coming at you, Patrick. You don't hear click of teeth. You just hear that little moist, wet chomping.
Stop. I don't know.
And she grabs your hand and sucks your fingers into her mouth and starts.
Fit my whole hand in there.
Okay. Ugh. Carry on.
Wayward son. Yeah. So after suffering chest pains, he admitted himself into the hospital. And this is where things start getting crazy again, because he slowly starts to, this is while he's lying on the hospital bed being examined, and he slowly starts, I hate saying transforming, but definitely mentally he starts losing it even more so. maybe psychologically as well. But it gets to the point where he bites the nurse that was tending to him, jumps out of his bed, proceeds to run around the hospital on all fours while baring his teeth and snarling. Mike, what the hell? Now that'd be enough to freak even the most hardened nurse and doctor out, I would think.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And he chomped onto that nurse's arm. I guess the way it sounded, he got a hold of her pretty good.
And they had I believe they called police to the hospital, and it took several police officer and staff members to finally be able to hold him down and sedate him.
Right.
Again, these are legit accounts. I mean, this stuff did happen. Why it was happening, I guess that's why we're talking about this right now. Now, again, nothing else happened for another 2 months until Bill admitted himself to the hospital again. And essentially the same stuff happened. By this time, the whole nursing staff were terrified of Bill.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, they remembered him from before. And yeah.
And again, he leapt at, during treatment, he leapt at all the staff, and he was basically trying to do the same stuff he was before. And one thing that's interesting, Mike, every time that Bill would calm down and come to, so to speak, he would never remember what had happened.
Mm-hmm.
Now, is that true? Do you believe that?
Well,
I mean, who's to say? I'm not calling him a liar, but I mean,
I'd be ashamed enough to not want to admit to it.
That's kind of what I'm saying. That's kind of what I'm suggesting, or embarrassed,
Right.
Now, more and more crazy stuff continues to happen. I believe this was the year 1987. It was at this point when Bill's really kind of going off the deep end. So much so that for whatever reason,
it says here he's much more public spirited at the time, though.
Yeah. Okay. Sure.
But yeah,
for whatever reason, 1987, Bill decides to pick up a prostitute. And upon picking her up, he decides to drive her straight to the police station.
Mm-hmm.
Not just for, why he was doing this, I guess we don't know. No one will really ever know. Long story short, he ends up terrifying this poor prostitute.
Yeah.
Same occurrences happening. Bared teeth, flaring teeth, snarls.
Calling her a dirty whore.
Ah, you dirty whore.
Ah, you dirty whore.
And I think this is when more cops were called on him.
Mm-hmm.
And this gets kind of creepy because one cop that Bill, let me rephrase that. When the cops arrive and they're trying to apprehend a crazy Bill Ramsey at this point, Bill lashes out at one particular police officer, and he screams these words at the officer.
A burly one, he said, a large bigger than Ramsey,
Yeah, exactly. When I was listening to some interviews with other officer eyewitnesses to the same event, they were saying that this one man was not a small guy by any means. But the quote is, and this was actually written down by another officer, Officer Terry Fisher. He wrote
Terry
down
Fisher?
Terry Fisher.
Oh,
Terry Fisher.
Okay.
And another officer eyewitness was a Mr. Tony Belford. They had described Bill Ramsey as undergoing, quote unquote, very unnatural behavior. But Officer Fisher also said that he had, quote unquote, mad, staring eyes. And he also wrote down the quote, this is what Bill Ramsey screamed when he was attacking the one officer. He says, "When the devil is in me, I am strong. The devil is in me. I am going to kill you." Okay, that's fairly terrifying. I do not enjoy that. I can't imagine that being very enjoyable for the arresting officers. Now, after finally being apprehended, he was sent to a psychiatric ward for evaluation. He was in there for 10 days of tests. 10 days of tests. And they were unable to come up with any sort of determinable, is that a word? Any sort of cause, any sort of reason to determine the cause for his behavior. Now, is 10 days a really long enough time to find an answer? Who knows? That seems like a long time to me, but they couldn't find anything in 10 days to describe his behavior. What are your thoughts on that, Mike? If any.
They did enough tests on him, different kinds of tests. Anyway, go ahead.
No, I didn't. I was throwing it to you. Way to take over, buddy. That's all right. We got to. We only
all
got.
they came up with is that there was some issue that needed resolving, but nobody should really switch from mild-mannered rational to rampaging berserker and back again in the space of a few minutes unless there is something seriously wrong. Quote.
Yeah. No, agreed.
But after this is when it really gets interesting because
that's when
the pictures of this is just crazy.
Yeah. Shortly after this is when the
demonologist and exorcism.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Shortly after this, I know. I apologize, Mike. We're talking over each other quite a bit.
We are.
I'm freezing up a little bit, so I apologize to the listeners if it's noticeable on your end. But like Mike said, this is where it gets even more creepy, weird, because this is when the Warrens, Ed and Lorraine Warren, get involved.
Yeah,
and
they brought the best in.
They brought the best in, that's for sure. Well, Mike, this is perfect timing, though. It's time for a time-traveling excursion.
Yes.
Our time-traveling excursion is going to sound a bit different. It's going to sound like a nuke alert. Just for today. We'll see how this one goes over. So we're going to come back. We're going to dive into this even more and wrap it up. And it's going to be good. So do not go anywhere, boys and girls. Mike, mute your mic, mute your mic, my friend. Hold on, boys and girls. We shall be right back. And we are back after yet another successful time traveling excursion. Mike, as we said, this is where the story starts getting pretty darn it's creepy and bizarre and whacked out as it is, but
right
now we're bringing in the Warrens, Ed and Lorraine Warren, famed paranormal researchers, demonologists. It's exorcism time.
Exorcism.
No, I do need to point out that Ed was very hesitant about looking into this case.
Yeah, it was Lorraine's. She thought of it when she saw it they were on a trip to London and they had seen a news story about it. And that's where Lorraine came up with the idea of she'd talked to the police and gotten the opportunity to meet up with the Ramseys.
Yeah. Yeah. And Ed was like, you mean to tell me that we're going to go investigate a werewolf?
Yeah.
And yeah, it took a little convincing from Lorraine because, she was like, well, yeah, this could very well be a demonic possession. And Ed's like, oh, ding, 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 ding. Yeah. So let's look into this. And they did. After doing all their preliminary research. And everyone got together, Mike. They
did.
Flew.
Well, he had actually. Oh, sorry.
That's fine.
There was a tabloid paper that actually sponsored a trip for the Ramseys to go to the Americas.
Yes.
And they got together. Yeah.
Back to Connecticut. Meet up, hook up with the Warrens to undergo said exorcism. Now, I watched like this 20-minute, I guess, special. It looked like it was aired in the 90s, judging by what it looked like. And I saw some exclusive photos from this exorcism. It was kind of interesting. The program promoted them as exclusive photos and like never before seen. But this was like I said, back in the 90s. They weren't the ones that they did show. There's nothing that was grotesque or utterly bizarre and out of the ordinary. Then I'm not saying this flippantly, but it looked like kind of an average ho-hum exorcism. Bill's face, the photos I saw, he's kind of contorting his hands again, like you said, like the mini, the T-Rex arms.
Yeah.
And the flared out teeth, the curled back lips, closed eyes. He did look like he was not enjoying it, that's for sure.
Well, in the beginning of the exorcism, the night before, actually, there's a little thing here that happened was the night before the exorcism, Bill had actually tried to strangle his wife during the middle of the night.
Yes, thank you for bringing that up. That is something that we could not look past.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he was very, very leery of undergoing this exorcism.
Yeah.
When they first mentioned this to Bill, and he's like, "Oh, what? I don't think so." But he eventually agreed to this, and like and then he was obviously feeling very apprehensive about it, very nervous, very tense, and you wonder if emotional states kind of maybe set off. If we're buying into this as not being simply a mental disorder, if we're going to look at it as something paranormal, something demonic, you wonder if like emotional state, like high levels of anxiety, can maybe help bring on the onset of these symptoms, and they basically start it all off. I mean, do you think that that's a possibility, Mike?
I'm sure that's a possibility. I mean, high ramped up emotions in general, I think would, that it gives off that energy and could definitely trigger some things.
Oh gosh, yeah. I mean, just look at us.
Yeah.
Look at us normal folk, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
We all go through our high levels of emotions for whatever reasons. Cripes, you should see me during a Minnesota Vikings game. I probably look like I'm suffering from lycanthropy myself during those damn games.
Well, if I was sitting through a Minnesota Vikings game, you would just hear heavy breathing and snoring coming from me.
Yeah.
But that's with any football game, because I don't like it.
I know you've never been a football guy. Yeah, I just
never have been. No.
You're sort of a sort of a baseball guy.
Yeah, more so. But yeah.
Definitely a Twins fan and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But, anyways, we're neither.
So
here
the
nor
first
there.
half hour of this exorcism was pretty quiet, though. I mean, from what I had researched here, it was being done in Latin. Nothing happened at all for about a half an hour.
It was performed. I want to point out, it was performed by Bishop Robert McKenna.
Right, and that's like who worked with the Warrens.
Warrens, yes.
Frequently, I guess, yeah.
Yes.
But then all of a sudden he takes on this entirely different appearance. The face contorted, both hands formed the claws. McKenna commanded the demon to leave. And then it is said that the full force of werewolf fury descended on McKenna one time and then disappeared for good. And it does say that the whole event was recorded on film. And I see a picture here of him that the caption reads that during the exorcism in Connecticut, Bill Ramsey begins to physically change into a werewolf. But all it is a snarling face and the hands coming up.
Right.
There's no werewolf changing into it at all.
Well,
it doesn't sprout fur or nothing like that, or pointy ears.
No, well, that's interesting you said that, because the interview that I saw with Ed and Lorraine, now this is what Lorraine claimed. She said that during the exorcism, she noticed, and probably several other people noticed, that the muscles in the back of his neck, again, this is according to Lorraine, the muscles in the back of Bill's neck began to enlargen, and almost like
enlarged.
Yeah, enlarged. There you go. And
can you enlarge in your neck muscles?
Can I enlarge in them for you? Let me give it a shot.
Yeah. I should do it.
I can do.
Anyway, go ahead.
I should take it. Yeah, the neck muscles back. The muscles in the back of the neck began to grow. Let's just put it that way. They appeared to be growing, and they got larger and larger. And this, again, is according to Lorraine. She said that his ears began to elongate. That's what Lorraine Warren said. Mm-hmm. Mike, do you believe Lorraine Warren on that one? I'm asking you flat out.
There's our yay and nay.
Oh, man, no kidding. No kidding.
God.
I don't mean to put you on the spot. You don't have to answer.
No,
that's a tough one.
With Lorraine, Ed and Lorraine, I mean, I have such great respect for them, but it could have been the heat of the moment kind of thing where she's seeing things and seeing things she wishes that she could see and prove that this is whatever.
It's like their perception.
Who knows?
I'm not saying this is the case, but maybe they're like, maybe they want to see something so bad that their perception is distorted, And so, she also claimed Well, they both claimed that talons were seen to be growing out of his hands. Talons. Now, again, is that is that the heat of the moment? Is that emotions running high and he's making these hand gestures like this, and everyone's kind of ramped up anyways? Maybe the lighting might not be the greatest, but.
And after the complete transformation, he turns into Lon Chaney Jr.
Well, I thought it was Michael J. Fox they turned into.
Well, yeah, that too.
Teen Wolf.
It was in his younger years.
Yeah, very, very, very much so. Very much so. Okay.
There's an old gypsy woman standing in the doorway watching this.
That's very true.
Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, Stevie Nicks. I forgot to mention something before we dove into the exorcism part here, Mike.
Okay.
Well, before I go back to there, do we have any final thoughts? Any major points that we missed from the exorcism? I know that supposedly nothing has happened. No occurrences like this have happened to Bill since then. Now, we were looking, listeners, help us out right now. We were trying to look to see if Bill Ramsey is still alive. We did not do our due diligence and find an answer.
Yeah, I know. Well, at the end of this, if I should just read this real quick, how this ends here.
Please do.
It says, has it ended? Bill Ramsey last appeared in public in 1992 when he updated his progress. Just before his exorcism, the transformations were increasing in both frequency and seriousness. Since that time, there have been no incidents recorded. No one has been rampaging uncontrollably through the streets of Southend on Sea in almost 15 years now. But Bill Ramsey has been quiet for just as long as that before.
That's right. Exactly.
So
15 years in between done? 15 years in between, events, occurrences.
Mm-hmm.
And again, nothing was supposedly nothing was found psychiatrically speaking or physiologically speaking for that matter to utilize or not to utilize to prove or disprove a cause for what was behind all of this. That's always interesting to me. All these doctors, these people far smarter than you and I can ever dream of being, Mike, they couldn't find any answer as to what was causing this.
With all the tests and psychologically and physically.
Because he was let go. I mean,
done.
he was held in the psychiatric ward. Tests ran on him for 10 days, and they're like, well, we can't find anything wrong with you, so we can't hold you here.
Exactly.
That's really intriguing to me.
Yeah. I wonder if there is during this whole time, any mutilated human remains have been found anywhere.
Oh, good Lord. No kidding.
Something you could link to a werewolf attack. But.
And Bill Ramsey, he would have no memory of it, if this is true and all. Hey, yeah. Okay, getting back to what I wanted to say a while ago. Upon his second arrest, when he was actually kind of incarcerated overnight. Now, this was according to the officers Tony Belford and Terry Fisher, particularly Tony Belford specifically. He was standing next to, this was the film that I was watching earlier today. He was standing next to the jail cell door. I don't know if it was the jail cell door or like maybe the psychiatric ward of the jail cell. Mm-hmm. Are there such things that they put in, like people in padded rooms and in jail cells?
Sure. There's,
the special rooms for the special folk.
Certain wards for things like that. Yeah.
Well, you can picture this where it's a heavy secure door with just like probably, I'd say an 8x6 opening in the front there.
Enough to put a food tray through.
Exactly. That's it.
Yeah.
Now, this is according to the officer, and he looks straight at the camera, and he's telling me, he goes, like, as bizarre as this sounds, I saw this, and my fellow officers saw this. When Bill Ramsey was in that cell, he said somehow Bill fit through this little 8x6 square, fit not only his entire right arm, his right shoulder, but also his head through that 8x6 opening. And he says, it seems like it's impossible, but I saw it. And he, in the middle of his fits, he somehow squashed himself through that.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's strange.
And you can go find that clip on YouTube, everybody.
Yeah, I should. There's on this page that I've had, there is one YouTube video that's on there, but and then what the weirdest thing would have been is
weirder than what we've talked about already. Holy cow!
What's that?
I said weirder than what we've talked about already.
Well, yeah, because like if he were to be on all fours, like doing this whatever rampaging like a wolf type thing, and then he goes to the wall and lifts his leg on the wall, and then it's like all bets are off. This guy is turning into something inhuman.
I agree. I know. Calm down, Chris Walken.
Pees on the officer's leg and stuff like that, and then Ed sitting in the chair watching all this going on, and he goes over and starts humping Ed's leg, and you just gotta let him finish.
I'm telling you, Clark.
My God!
If he happens to latch onto you, the best thing to do is just let him finish.
Let him finish.
Well,
anyway,
how is this going, yodeling man? Are we doing okay? How do you think we're doing?
Well,
okay, I'll take that for that's something. I don't know. Well, Mike, final thoughts on this. This is a truly bizarre case.
Very bizarre, but very fascinating.
Very fascinating. I mean, are we simply talking about a mental illness here? Are we talking about lycanthropy, where people act like they're like they're an animal?
If it's a mental illness, it's an extreme mental illness.
Oh my God, tell me about it.
And what's strange though is that the cycles that it goes through, there's nothing set like any certain amount of time. It's like anything between months or years. It's like what triggers this to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Is it is it just when it happens to come out, or is there something that we don't know of that actually triggers this at a certain time? It's just, I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. The underlying basis, the underlying trigger for this is unknown. And the idea of this supernatural strength, and this goes back to when he was 9, Mike. Pulling out these thick fence posts lodged into concrete as a 9-year-old. I mean, the interview with Bill I saw earlier, he's an adult, 1992, and when this interview was taking place, was filmed. And he says, I can't do that now as an adult.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Even in a fit of extreme rage and extreme adrenaline rush, I don't see how that could even be done. I mean, I'm not an expert on things that happened during those times, but it just doesn't seem possible.
And as Lorraine Warren also said when she was quoting the officers when the first attempt of trying to bring him down, essentially, they described Bill's strength as it was as if he was going through matchsticks in reference to the officers, just pushing over and busting through matchsticks like they were nothing.
And one of the officers was actually hospitaled for like 4 days.
Yeah. I believe one, okay. And we all know, okay, well, the gentlemen in the audience know, Mike and I know what it feels like to take something in the groin area of us.
I thought you were going to say in the butthole.
Definitely not. I'm never ever going to play that ever again.
Don't ever play that clip again. Yes,
you need to turn.
Although
off
I did find it, I came across it accidentally and sent it to you on,
you did.
On TikTok. I had to,
and I didn't even bother.
Destined to become a classic. I said. Anyway, go ahead.
You need to turn off your notifications there. You keep on getting like doo-doo, doo-doo. Something's going on there with your phone or something like that.
It shall stop.
Mike's,
it has stopped now.
Popular right now. But that actually, when the officers were trying to apprehend him again, another aspect of that was Officer Terry Fisher nailed him in the nuts.
Yeah.
and he said that basically he let out this and then he just got angrier and stronger. That's no joke. I mean, again,
That would have put me down.
It would put anybody down.
Right.
I'm sounding kind of silly, but think about that. That kind of adds a little legitimacy to it. Where
I would think so.
He just flies through, almost just kind of pushes it aside, like, okay, whatever. I'm not feeling anything right now because. Yeah. But again, if the adrenaline is so high, people can lift cars for God's sake. So.
Oh, sure, yeah. But there's got to be something that an event that usually triggers that.
Right.
All of a sudden, this 9-year-old kid has this cold feeling, freezing sweat on his body, and he's able to do that. That's totally
it came out of nowhere.
Different, yeah.
Came out of nowhere. So it's very, very intriguing. I don't know what I really don't know what I think about this one, Mike. If this was our upcoming last call, yay or nay, no shades of gray, it'd be difficult for me. I don't know.
It would be for me too, definitely.
So I think we did a good thing by deciding to make this the focus of this episode and not the last call, because I'm straddling the fence, Mike. There's parts of me that absolutely think it's, especially when it comes to demonic possession. You hear about shapeshifters, you hear about the power of demons, inhabiting the bodies of the unfortunate and what they're able to do to people and contort their bodies and make them do physical things that would seemingly be impossible. If you believe in that stuff, which I do.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's the idea of simple, bizarre, extremely powerful mental illness. And then there's the idea that it's a complete hoax. I mean,
yeah. Ed and Lorraine,
tough.
They would have spotted that, I think. I mean, they would have, well, especially with Lorraine, saying that she's seen an actual physical transformation begin.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's the thing.
Yeah.
Well, this has been fun, Mike. As sad as it may sound, the episode's coming to an end. Thank you very much. This has been just a bizarre topic, but I love it. I don't know where I'm sitting on it, man. I really don't know where I'm sitting. I hope Bill Ramsey, if he's still alive, is doing well.
Yeah. Or in a very well built cage.
Yeah, or he's buried deep down in a. I don't know. I don't know. Oh shit, Mike. Before we wrap this up, just a couple minutes, briefly. We should mention the UAP congressional hearings that they had. Last week. It would be.
Unfortunately, I missed.
Well,
all of it.
It's. I'm just saying it would be shame on us if we didn't at least mention it. They had the first public open hearings on the UAP phenomena. Hopefully slowly disclosure may be happening slowly, but ever so surely, and all that stuff. And we're finally going to learn the truth. Long story short, while I think this is a step in the right direction, finally, and it's the ever important first tiny little step. That's exactly what it was. This was basically a whole hyped up bunch of nothing.
Yeah. I'm sure that's the way it's going to be for a while. That's the way it might always be.
That's the thing. I mean,
let's let them think that we're making progress, and it'll satisfy them for a little while.
Oh, man,
I don't know.
While. That's the thing. A little while,
But let them keep doing that, because the more of these people and these high up individuals that come in and testify and talk about these things, it's got to take it somewhere.
And you'd think someone who, if for whatever reason people are holding back and they're not giving you the full truth, and they're walking around their answers and walking back their answers and so on and so forth. Even if that is the case, you would hope that sometime, someday, soon, someone of prominence is just going to say, I'm sorry for swearing. They're going to say, fuck it. I'm just going to tell you what I know. and I'm going to face the ramifications. That's what it's going to take, isn't it? I mean, someone's just going to have to frickin' have the balls to finally just say something.
Yeah. Yeah. I was watching some Ancient Aliens today, and they were talking about disclosure and everything. And they showed some hearings from previous that they had done. And during the time when Clinton and Trump were going at it head to head, for the presidency.
Yep.
Clinton had supposedly mentioned something, from what I understand, about getting to the bottom of it, getting to the bottom of the UFO story, going in and, even if she would have went in and said at the Pentagon, I want to know everything. And if I don't find out, you're all fired.
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But then Trump gets in it, and he doesn't give a shit. He doesn't care if people want to know anything like that. So it was totally lost. Whether Hillary Clinton would have followed through, who knows, or how far she could have gotten. But, at least there might have been more of a chance there. But it boils down to a lot of different things that have to come together for it to actually happen.
I know. I agree, Mike. And the thing is, that's kind of scary too, is like, I personally believe that even the president of the United States would be in the dark when it comes to half of this shit.
Absolutely. It's that.
And that's just how it works. That's how it rolls.
Right.
I hope I'm wrong, but that's just,
right. I think that is partially true, but in the best case scenario anyway, or in a better, whatever, at least there's more people talking about it. There's more people exposed to it. The word is getting around more. I mean, they even changed the name for some reason from UFO to
UAP.
UAPs. I mean, what is that? Does that fit better in this era time frame?
What it is? You know what it is?
Them,
they were worried. They were worried about offending all forms of saucers. So they were offended by, or they were worried about offending all sorts of unidentified flying objects. I mean, it's. I get what you're saying, Mike. It's like, are they even expanding all this proper terminology, or what is accepted as proper terminology, just because they don't want to hurt anybody's feelings? Is UFO offensive now or something? I don't know. Yeah. Hey, by the way, I think Trump would have loved to have gone into a deep dive on aliens, only if they would have promised him like a golf course on Mars or something like that.
Oh, sure.
Named after him, of course.
Well, we could ask Stormy Daniels when she's on if she's ever
absolutely
breached that subject with the man.
Yes, we did mention. It's so funny how that worked. Thank you for bringing it up, because we did mention that finally a couple episodes ago, the week before Stormy was scheduled to be on the show, and it is now we need to reschedule because she was booked for a television program, some sort of work. It wasn't adult work. It was some other program that she was filming that day. And this was booked. This was scheduled after she had agreed to appear in our podcast. So we are in the process of rescheduling that. We have, though, a bunch of really awesome, cool interviews lined up for the summer. We can't wait to
absolutely
let you all in on that. So we're excited about that for sure.
Yeah. Have we talked about that at all, or given an idea of where this nice list of guests are coming from?
When I have it all lined up, when I have a few more of them lined up and set in stone, then I want to bring it up. So,
but the deal is set. I mean,
absolutely.
We are getting and we do have the first guest of that.
Yes,
coming up next month.
Yes, next month.
So look forward to that.
The first of many. It's going to be cool. Well, Mike, let's wrap this up. Thank you again so much. And thank you, listeners, for tuning in. Hey, if you guys enjoy the podcast, you would love our Patreon page. I guarantee you would love it. You can join.
Love.
You can join and listen to all of our, well, not all of them, but most of them for as little as $1 a month. If you want to, you can subscribe for $5 a month, and you can have access to everything. We have over 225 exclusive posts, including 44 exclusive episodes recorded solely for Patreon, video and audio content from our own personal ghost hunting investigations. We have more stuff to add this Saturday. That's going to be a blast, Mike.
Oh, we're going to have a good time this Saturday. Tomorrow,
man. Tomorrow. That's going to be
ghost
great.
hunting trip.
And I don't say it lightly. I don't say it flippantly. And I know everyone. I hope no one gets sick of me saying this. But if you like the podcast, please help support us. Tell a friend. Join the Patreon page. Give it a shot. No obligations. You can try it out for a month. If you don't like it, you can go away. That's fine.
Yeah.
Or
And the way
not
it is
go
right
away,
now,
but you can stop. You can stop subscribing. But
and the way it is right now is you get a cool little sticker.
well, that's awesome, isn't it? Though,
You
come
put it on your
like-
car. I keep getting an email in my email saying that I need to update something because they were going to send mine to me
Yeah.
and they can't because I don't know, there's something wrong with my information or something. So I got to fix that.
Yeah. Mike has problems with things.
Technology.
Well, okay. The story of Bill Ramsey, the Southend werewolf, truly bizarre, truly unique, and man, legit demonic possession, legit werewolf.
Let us know what you think.
hoax, or simple mental illness. Let us know what you think. Until next time, boys and girls. Mike, what do our paranormal pals need to do?
Peace out.